In this video, I'm going to teach you how to tune your guitar using intervals. If you haven't already looked at my video on the 5th fret method of tuning and the one on the harmonics method of tuning, I would suggest you look at those first because they're a little bit more straightforward to learn and will help you tune your ear. I've also done a video on giving you 5 tips to help you tune your guitar. I suggest you watch that as well, as it picks out some of the key details that are worth focusing on. If you're ready for this video, let's get started. First of all, we need to know what intervals are. Basically, an interval is the distance between any note on the guitar and another note. So for example, going from here to here would be an interval. From here to here would be another interval. And the same with every other distance. Intervals are named after the major scale. So if I was to play, say, the first note of the major scale and then the second, it would be a second. The first and the third would be a third. First and the fourth, a fourth. And so on. There's 2 intervals that we need to know to tune the guitar. So the first would be the fourth, which is this, playing the first note of the scale, then the fourth. And the second would be the octave. So we'll have a look at those more as we go through the method, but have a little play with that idea and make sure you understand it. Tuning string 5. We're assuming that you've tuned your 6th string once again, as with the other methods we did. So if you haven't done it yet, do grab an electric tune and tune up your 6th string. And then all we need to do is play string 6 open, followed by string 5 open. And this creates the interval we were talking about called the fourth. You can hear it's kind of a neutral sound. But what's really useful for us is that there aren't any beat tones there. So if we put it out of tune, you'll hear that we do have beat tones. So what we can do is use the same method we used with the 5th fret and the harmonic method of tuning, of playing the note, dropping it down so it's out of tune, and then tuning up in one smooth movement, listening to the beat tones and going until they plateau and stop. So if you listen to that, I'll do it now. If you don't quite make it, just drop it down again and give it another go with that large movement. Again, it's that kind of plateauing sound we're listening to. As well as being aware of the beat tones, it's good to be familiar with the general sound of a fourth. It's kind of neutral, it's also quite a powerful sound. You may recognise it from Smoke on the Water by Deep Purple. So it's played on the middle 2 strings of the guitar there, but it's the same distance. So different notes, but same distance, which is what's important. So give it a go on this string and then we'll move on to the next one. Tuning string 4. To tune string 4, we'll just take the same method we used for string 5 and move it a string higher. So we'll play string 5 open, then string 4 open. So that's our 4th. We're more or less in tune there, but just to demonstrate, I'm going to drop it down. I've gone a little far there, so you're not hearing the beat tones too clearly. I've actually moved to another interval. So I'm going to move it up a little bit. Now you can hear the wobbling as I'm close to a 4th, but a little bit out of tune. So I'll tune up to that in one movement. I'm close to it, I'm going to drop down, try again. And we're more or less in tune there, and I might even now do a little fine adjustment, and you may now feel confident enough to do fine adjustments as well as the big bold movement. Just a little tweak, we're in tune there. Tuning string 3. So once again, we can just port the same method to the higher strings. So we're going to play string 4 open, then string 3. Put it in tune there, so I'm just going to drop it down a little bit. we are, we're close to the fourth, but you can hear the beat tones really resonating there. So I'll go up in one movement. Great, and the beat tones are pretty much stopped. We've got that recognizable sound, and we're pretty much in tune. Tuning string 2. So string 2 is not tuned to a fourth like the other strings on your guitar. So we could do it to an open third, but I prefer to tune to an octave as I find it's more accurate and easier to hear. So we're going to play string 4 open, then fret 3 on string 2. You can hear I'm a little out of tune now. I'm going to go a bit further out so I can clearly hear it. You can clearly hear the beat tones there, so I'll go up in one movement as we've done before. You can see that I didn't really drop it down enough there, so I ended up kind of doing a fine adjustment. So let's drop it down a little bit further. So once again, you could hear the beat tones, and now the beat tones have stopped. You should be able to clearly hear that's in tune. Tuning string 1. Tuning string 1. To tune string 1, we go back to our original method of playing string 2 and then a fourth on string 1. That's a little out of tune there, we'll just drop it down. You can hear the wobbling, and we'll tune up in one movement. Did a little fine adjustment there, but you can hear the wobbling is now stopped. Finishing. So once again, once you've tuned your guitar, it's worth playing a few chords and some riffs. Just anything you're familiar with, really, just so you can check that it's in tune. Just to summarise the method, once again, we're listening to the beat tones, but here we're also thinking about familiarity with the sound of a fourth and also the sound of an octave. So the qualities of them, so that sort of powerful but neutral sound of a fourth, or however you feel about it, and with the octave it being the same note but higher up and kind of having a certain power to it. So with those things in mind, you should be able to master this method fairly quickly, but just by practicing it every day and then checking with a tuner, as hopefully you've done with the other methods. However, you're going to find that with these three methods, that even if you've tuned perfectly going through your guitar, if you've really tuned your ear in, you're going to find that some chords sound like they're in tune and others don't sound like they're in tune. And there's a good reason for this, which we're going to get onto with the next tuning method I'm going to teach you, called the hybrid method, which is a little more complicated, but using all the skills you've learnt already, you should be able to pull off really well. So do have a look at that video once you've finished this method.